An example of how one is very easily incentivized to make more controversial content in order to increase views. So the algorithms on all of these platforms, and the algorithms of course are kind of based on the audience, are therefore kind of mirroring what people actually are interested. And since drama is something people are interested in, it usually just gets more views, more clicks. If therefore a video, for example, where you do something that is controversial or kind of funny or mocking something, like I did a few days ago. So there is a charging port on my notebook, and it was not the most comfortable. But there also was not really a better solution Microsoft in the Surface Book could have come up with. But I made a video kind of mocking this and making fun of it, and it got like 1,000 views compared to everything else I do that's fairly high. So now it did well compared to the other videos I produce. Now the question is, what do I make of this? And usually I think it makes sense, at least in terms of viewing this as a business, to do the things that are seen the most. And since seen the most is kind of equivalent in the creator space due to AdSense basically directly linking to the number of views you get, therefore increasing the views by making things more controversial is a very legitimate tactic, at least in the short term, that maximizes your views and therefore also your earnings, and therefore also, or in between the AdSense, and therefore also your portion of the AdSense that you get paid out, for example, on YouTube. And this creates the problem that you basically create more and more controversial things. You could say one of the heights of this, or one of the very bad symptoms of this, are people like Andrew Tate, who just say controversial things all the time in order to just gain more views. Whereas I actually looked into his earlier videos, I just scrolled down a little bit, and there he just sat in, I don't know, in any room, and he just said a few things that were uninteresting. And the reason they are uninteresting is because we are not interested in obvious things, like let's say, like all these truisms I could now state, like if you create goals, for example, it is more likely that you actually will achieve the outcome because, well, because of different factors. The question now becomes, I think, or the question now is, what do you make about this? What can you do about this? Ideally, every creator would have, or everybody who produces media, and you could also see one-on-one conversations as kind of media. It is only often recorded by one person, maybe also by the phone in your pocket that is then wired to the NSA. But apart from this fact, it is kind of a one-on-one conversation that only can be remembered by you and the other person. And since memory is something that is fairly biased and also can be changed over time, and also usually changes over time, there is kind of a less of an incentive to only say and do the things that are long-term completely within the rules, the set of principles, the set of morals and ethics you laid out for yourself. But now when it comes to video, if you buy into getting more views with more controversial things, of course this is only one tactic. You could also just make better things in general, which also probably gets more views compared to something that is just less in quality. And using the controversial lever is something that is used by many. Why? Because it is just an easy strategy. It's an easy way out of low views. But the problem, I guess, is that in the long term you trade basically your face for it, with face being a metaphor for your long-term values, your long-term morals. Now, if I make this one controversial video about the power adapter on my notebook, about the MagSafe from Microsoft, this might of course increase short-term the traffic, and in the long term might also help me. But what also might help me in the long term, or maybe potentially might help me in the long term the most, is if my voice and my face, basically me and the image of me and the perception of me is one that is trusted. Think of MKBHD, for example. There was one video where MKBHD did a sponsored ad, more or less, where he reviewed a car. And even though he for years produced videos on end that are very high in quality, and also just he produced them for years, this one video just got so much negative feedback that he, from this point in time, at least until recently, from the videos I have seen, did not do something like this again. The voice is just so important. The perception of how trustworthy you are is just the one currency you don't want to trade in for anything else. Of course, this also creates the problem of monetization in general. Being a sellout is kind of the ultimate branding, not the ultimate branding in terms of branding being a positive thing, but branding in terms of a negative thing, a negative label that is attached to you that you probably can never really get rid of. Being a sellout, it's kind of similar to these. So there is this one company that has these boxes, kind of meal prep boxes. They're called Tupper, and now they have these parties, and they kind of but they used kind of a pyramid scheme, you could say, but it was also kind of just an affiliate scheme. So not really a scheme, but of course affiliates and commission marketing is kind of using word of mouth just a little bit more enhanced, and has been around for ages probably. But now the problem is, if somebody invites you to his Tupper party, so there are these parties where then you can invite all your friends, and if your friends then buy something from Tupper, you get a commission, which is nice for your friends and also for you, given the fact that, but this of course, no, it is only nice, of course, if everybody really benefits from it, and if not the social pressure of you inviting these people over and basically throwing a party for them, then incentivizes them and makes them make choices that are not optimal for them, because they just could have gone for something cheaper, for example. But due to the social pressure in the relationship to you and also to you as a host, this doesn't really probably result in something that is optimal in terms of choice architecture. Trust is something that has to be earned again and again over time. And once you heard it, it is kind of harder to get it back. Of course, nobody is trusted at first sight, but I think that we can assume that you, the person on the other end of my phone, basically, on the other end of the internet, and the funny fact is that I am recording this on my phone and I'm already seeing the result, and I'm basically watching this as a infinite feedback loop, but you on the other side might also watch this, and therefore I am basically directly speaking to you over the internet that then again streams to my phone, because I could also watch myself or anything else on that phone, which is weird. But it's basically a video call that is recorded for you and that then streams over the internet, but you can play it back at any point in time, and you also obviously cannot really interact with it anymore because it is a unidirectional conversation, and I also don't do anything that is actually adapted to your feedback in real time. What I'm trying to say is this: trust. I think it makes sense to use this phone here, you on the other side, to use relationship trust, so real life trust, just as a proxy for how you want to treat your audience. And just think of your friend, for example. As I discovered affiliate marketing, I sometimes, instead of sending people normal links, would send them affiliate links. So but this created a very, very tricky problem, because you are then incentivized to maybe send one link more to somebody, to maybe, instead of, okay, I bought this on Amazon, just search it for yourself, you just might send the link already, which of course is then maybe an affiliate link, which of course benefits you in the long term, at least financially, but not in terms of trust. Because the question then becomes for the other person, can I still trust this person? Or is this person just recommending me this because there is a financial gain, a financial short-term gain from this? And this exact thing transfers to the digital landscape also. If I, for one, say something that, if I do something like this once, if I create basically an affiliate link for you and then talk about this, you don't really know anymore if you can trust me anymore. If my interests basically are just sharing the thing I want to share with you, which of course you cannot really know what my interests or incentives actually are behind this. But as soon as I pass this threshold of recommending you something with affiliate links, which I probably will do on all of my channels, because AdSense probably will not pay, basically, for, not pay, but this has to be kind of a business, even though it is only a side business, at least for me. But now the question, of course, is where do you cross the line? And when do you cross the line? And where do you draw the line? That's actually what I'm trying to say. Is it just affiliate links? Is it then sponsored videos like MKBHD? But also, is it creating maybe slightly more controversial videos or titles or thumbnails just in order to gain more traffic?